So much tech stuff.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
I know.
Something I would not have predicted for the yoga world.
Especially having worked with so many yoga teachers, over the years, and like tech typically not being a strong suit.
Yeah.
So it's there's some humor there to it. Like, well, guess what? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
So I've been playing around with, I would love to get your feedback, and those of you taking the class virtually can tell me after class once I unmute you. So I've been playing with the idea of changing the format of this class to be a yin yoga style instead of a gentle, just to see if that increases in-person attendance. But I also know, like, I have a couple students who've been taking this gentle class with me all through COVID, since before COVID, really. Like, I've been teaching it at 11 o'clock yoga in either the gentle or hatha style for, I think, as long as I've been teaching yoga. So there's also part of me that's like scared to change it, and I don't want to change it if that means that all of you guys who like it as a gentle class are gonna be like, okay, well, I can't take that class anymore. So I guess my question is, like, what do you think about that? Do you like yin yoga? Do you want to do that, or do you want to keep it gentle? Because I really do. I really do care and want to know, what your thoughts are. So we can chat about that afterwards if you don't mind, or you can always email me or however you want to tell me. So we are in the midst of eclipse season. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but twice a year at least, there is what is called a season of eclipses that usually happen at the end of April and beginning of May, and then again at the end of October into November. And whether, this is something you're tuned into or not, which most people aren't, unless it's an eclipse that's going to be visible, right? And then everybody's like, gotta get the glasses so we can see it. But for the most part, maybe not on the radar. But it's really powerful energy for everyone, and will get amplified depending on where the eclipse lands in your own personal chart. But what's kind of really cool about eclipses is that they're because they happen on the nodes, the lunar nodes of the moon. This means that there are these kind of like karmic changes that come into our lives and kind of take us through a portal. It always reminds me of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, right? Where you're picked up from where you are and you're put down somewhere else. And sometimes it's like a completely different world, right? And it's not always an easy thing. And in ancient times, eclipses were considered to be kind of like bad omens because they would create such drastic changes, especially at that time in terms of like kings and rulerships and things that affected all of the people. So you may already be feeling this in your life in some way or another. You may already be feeling that there's like something changing or shifting or some kind of karmic wheel that's turning, that's bringing you somewhere else. And with a lot of planetary energy, like, what does this have to do with yoga? Well, here's the thing, is that a lot of planetary energy invites us to work with it. And eclipse energy, there's no working with it. There's no controlling it. The best thing that you can do is to let go or be dragged. It's something that one of my yoga teachers always used to say, and just is really applicable. Like, how much of our lives do we spend kind of resisting change or kind of digging into things that like we don't want to shift when times they are changing, right? And I think that one of the big life themes that yoga teaches us is let go, right? Relax. How many times do we as yoga teachers cue that? Like, and then breathe through it, or go into Shavasana and surrender. This is a huge theme in our yoga practice of like, can we get out of our own way? Can we turn off the craziness of our thinking mind? Can we come back to the present? Can we be right where we are, right in this spot on our mat in this moment, letting go of everything else and just allow? And that's really what we need to do during eclipse season more than ever. So we're going to play with that a little today. So let's take a nice comfortable seat. Sit up nice and tall. And welcome your breath. And can you bring in and invite in some of this energy of allowing, receiving, simply being and allowing yourself to be guided and transported. This is why we like to, one of the many reasons we like to take a yoga class rather than practice by ourselves, right? Because for this next hour, you can surrender the need to be the one that makes the decisions and instead allow me as your yoga guide to take you through practice. And can we trust that process? Can we trust that process on this kind of divine, universal level that over the next few weeks through this eclipse season, we allow ourselves to be taken somewhere on a ride, on a trip, on a journey, and see, where we're going to land. Notice if there's any part of yourself that's getting in your way right now, that's getting in the way of you being fully present. Whether it's your brain kind of chit-chatting, going on and on, whether it's some kind of discomfort in your body or some tension, some gripping, some restriction that the body's holding on to. See if for just the next few breaths you could soften. You could let go, whatever that might be. Whether it's a gripping of your jaw. And then how do we do that? Make a little space between your lower jaw and your upper jaw. Relax your tongue in your mouth, letting the tongue get heavy and wide on the lower palate. Relax and soften your face. Let your shoulders drop back and down. And notice if when you consciously soften and consciously release and let go of the tension, the holding, the controlling, right? The bracing ourselves for what's next, the stress. Notice the sensations that come along with that softening or release. Maybe it's like, I didn't even know that my shoulders were like up in my ears until I just brought them down. So often we don't realize how tightly we're holding on until we're forced to let go. And then the freedom that comes with that, without having to do all that work and that resisting and bracing and the dread that comes with it all. And trust me, as someone who is definitely a control freak, I know how hard it is. It's so difficult. It's a practice that requires us to really embody that every day. Can I soften? Can I focus on responding myself instead of trying to control my environment and the things outside of us that we really have no control over? From here, bring your hands together in front of your heart. I invite you to set an intention for your practice, and maybe it's just to see if you could let go a little bit more, or fully for the next, until let's say the middle of the night. Work with that energy of letting yourself go through that portal, letting yourself be transported and changed and put on, the karmic path that you're meant to be on. So whatever your personal intention, hold it here close to our hearts, and we'll begin our class with 3 cleansing breaths, sealing in our intentions. Take a deep breath in and let it go. 2 more like that, and this is the practice. Can you breathe in? Can you let go? 1 more. And then gently bow your head to your heart. Slowly open your eyes, release your hands. Come to all fours and set yourself up for cat cow. What's going on here? So come into a tabletop position with your wrists right under your shoulders, your knees right under your hips. And then once you feel stable in this table position, you'll draw your low belly in, soften right behind your heart. Take a breath in and begin to undulate your spine. So you lift the sitting bones and the tailbone rises, soften the belly, melt the heart, take your gaze up. As you exhale, you round through your back, tailbone lengthens down, belly draws in, pull the ribs back, tuck your chin to your chest, and then flow. In yoga, we're always talking about this idea of flow, of moving with the energy rather than resisting it. And that is really what this eclipse season asks us to embody, to go with the flow, rather than swim against the current of change. Focus here on your breath rather than the movement of the body. Let the movement of the body come secondary. And the breath is a window into so much of ourselves. It really shows us kind of how much control we're holding on to, how much we're gripping, right? Like it's kind of a marker, like where are you on that control freak scale? Your breath will tell you. If it becomes really difficult to just even exhale fully, you're probably like where I am, higher up on that scale. And when I first started doing yoga, man, I was like, wow, like I can't even breathe. What's going on here? So be gentle with yourself as you practice. A couple more rounds here. Okay. And then inhale, come back to a neutral spine. Tuck your toes. Send your hips up and back as you come into downward facing dog. Press your hands down into the mat, especially root through your thumb and the bones of your index fingers. So the inner edges of the hands take the brunt of the weight, but you grip the mat with all 10 finger pads. Then lengthen through your arms up into your shoulders, stretch your spine, take your hips up and back. Knees can bend if the hamstrings are tight. Invite in some deeper breaths. So in each pose today, notice what it is that you need to let go of, where it is you need more flow, and how you can practice that act of releasing, of surrender. Surrendering into each shape letting your tension and stress just melt off of you. And then inhale, come forward to a high plank, and once you arrive, you'll bring your knees down. So as the knees come down, take care not to shift back into table, right? You're in a plank still, it's just your knees are down. The tailbone is still lengthening, the pubic bone draws up, your belly tones, ribs pull in, melt right behind you. And as you exhale, you're gonna first pick up your feet. And then as you exhale, you'll bring your chest forward and down. Keep the heads of the shoulders lifting. You come all the way onto your belly. So notice the tendency of the arm bones, the heads of the arm bones, and the shoulders to dip down towards the mat. Keep them resisting away from the mat, up and back. Then pick up your right knee, lengthen it towards the back of the mat, bring it down and extend that leg. Same thing with your left side. You lift the left knee, lengthen the whole leg back, bring it down, straighten out the leg, tops of the feet press down into the ground, slide your heart forward and up for cobra. Breathe, couple of breaths here. Exhale, release back down to your belly. We're going to do this 2 more times. Each time you come into the back bend, see where you can let go and surrender a little more fully. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, back down. 1 more. Exhale, release. Tuck your toes, press yourself up and back into downward facing dog. Right leg lifts as you inhale. Exhale, step your right foot all the way up in between your hands. It may not make it, especially on the first try. You'll just keep stepping it up. Maybe it even has to come out to the side and then move towards the center of your mat again. But you want to get your foot up high enough so that your right knee is over your right ankle. Press up through your back thigh. Hug your legs in towards each other. Keep your left hand down. Inhale, right arm up as you twist. Breathe. Curl your shoulders back. Can you soften through the heart space? Opening up that armor that we wear to protect our hearts. And seeing where you can soften and breathe into the pose. Exhale, release. Step back into downward facing dog. You have options here. You can stay in downward dog, take a few breaths. You can rest and relax in child's pose. You can move through a vinyasa. Up to you. Then you'll inhale, left leg lifts to the sky. Exhale, lunge your left foot forward. Get it all the way up to the top of the mat. Left knee is over the left ankle. Right hand stays down. Inhale, sweep the left arm up. Hug the legs in towards each other. Curl back, lean back, open. Check in with your jaw, with your tongue, with the parts of the body that grip and try to control and hold on tightly through the ride that is your yoga practice. Exhale, release, bring your left hand back down, step back into downward facing dog. Options here, same thing. You can stay in down dog, you can move through a vinyasa. This time will all end in child's pose. So you'll make your way into child's pose with knees wide, big toes together, send your hips back towards your heels. Forehead can come to your mat or to a block. And every time we come into child's pose, we're asked to embody this energy of surrender and release and letting go. Come into this shape that feels safe and quiet and dark, where we can be just who we are, where we can shed the skin of all of the identities that we wear in our lives. And allow our hearts to soften, to open. From here, walk your hands all the way over to the right until you get a stretch through your left side body. Inhale, walk your hands back through center, and then all the way over to the left until you get a stretch through your right side body. Inhale back through center. Make your way into down dog. As you inhale, walk your feet forward to meet your hands. Exhale as you fold, bow over your legs. Knees can be soft here. You can bend your knees, especially if your hamstrings are tight. So if your low back is grounding, if you're having trouble lifting your sitting bones, then you need to bend your knees. As you inhale, lengthen your spine, come to a flat back. Hands can glide up the sides of your shins, shoulder blades on your back, and extend out through the crown of your head. Then exhale, lift your belly and fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. So here we go. We're just going to flow here. Exhale, fold. Keep moving with your breath. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, bow in. And see if you can find this flow and rhythm with your breath and the movement in this really gentle way. And the next time you exhale, pause. Take another breath in, another breath out. Then ground down into your feet and inhale, reach your arms all the way up, move slowly, letting the blood move back down from your head. And exhale, hands to your heart. Release your arms down by your sides in Tadasana. Take a look at your feet. See that your feet are sitting bone or hip distance apart. Take your shoulders up, back, and down. Right, there's this cue in yoga that's like inner body bright. So can you find that here, where you kind of lift the heart center? Allow your heart space to be open. Press down through your feet. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, swan dive forward and fold. Bring your hands to the ground or to your blocks. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold back in. Press into your feet. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bow forward and fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hands to your heart. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, all the way back up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Good. Now inhale, sweep your arms up. Take your right wrist with your left hand. Press down through your feet. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, reach out and over to the left. Send your hips to the right. Breathe. And then you're going to notice here kind of what's going on with the shoulders and the torso. So there's a tendency to kind of bend down towards the ground. You want to keep your heart and your torso forward, if that makes sense, facing forward. Maybe your gaze can come up under your top arm, but if not, your gaze can definitely be down. Your gaze could be straight ahead, but you want your chest to face forward. Inhale back through center, change hands. So take your left wrist with your right hand, inhale, lengthen up, exhale, reach out and over to the right. Send your hips to the left. Keep pressing evenly through your feet. Use your breath. Inhale back through center and exhale, release. Take a wide stance on your mat. You can extend your arms straight out from your shoulders and line up your ankles under your wrists, or know that that's the direction you're moving towards. Release your hands back down to your hips. Maybe widen your heels just slightly. You want the pinky toe edges of your feet to be parallel with the backs of your mat. And then turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee. If your knee moves past your ankle, you need a little more space. Bring your right forearm to your right thigh with your palm face up. So even here, maybe you need more space. Can you bring your front thigh more towards parallel with the earth? And then take your left arm out in line with your ear. Palm faces down towards the ground. That's it. And same thing here with the chest. There's the tendency for the chest and the torso to face down towards your mat. Can you take your left ribs back, bring your right ribs forward, open up your heart, breathe. And then from here, we're going to come into this little flow where you inhale, you'll come up and reverse your warrior. And exhale, come back into side angle. And you're just moving with your breath. Inhale, reverse warrior, exhale, side angle. And see if you could let this feel as good as it can. Moving with the flow of your breath, really slowing it down if you need to. Or speeding it up if that feels better for you. And the next time you reverse your warrior, pause here. Straighten your right leg, keep leaning back. And then inhale, arms up to the T. Exhale, hands to your hips, turn your right toes in, your left toes out. Bend your left knee, bring your left forearm down onto your thigh, palm faces up. So you use this forearm to keep guiding the knee open towards your second toe or the pinky toe edge of your foot. And you still try to take that shoulder blade onto your back. Then take your right arm out in line with your ear, palm faces down. Open up your heart. Right ribs move back, left ribs wrap forward. Couple of breaths. And then you'll flow. Inhale up into reverse warrior. Exhale, side angle. Move with your breath. See if you can do this without moving your legs too much. Can you let the lower half of your body be really stable and grounded? And then could you let the upper half move and flow with your breath? And that is yet another concept that we take from yoga and apply to our lives. Can we stay grounded even when things are moving and changing around us? And the next time you reverse your warrior, pause. Take a few breaths here. And then press into your left foot, straighten your left leg, keep leaning back. Inhale, arms to a T. Exhale, hands to your hips. Turn your left toes in. And then step your feet together. Shake that out. Come to the top of your mat, hands to your heart. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bow forward and fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway to a flat back. Exhale, step back, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts as you inhale. This time we're coming into pigeon. So as you exhale, bring your right knee forward. Your shin crosses your mat. The rule here is to take your knee, right knee comes outside of your right hip. So if your leg is kind of more towards the center of your mat, you're really going to slide it over towards the edge. You think about making kind of like a 7 with your legs, although your front shin does not have to be parallel to the front of your mat. It doesn't. It can move towards that, but it may not be realistic for your bone structure. Now take your back toes back a little. Bring that back leg more towards the midline. Hug your right hip back. Lift your heart. Take a breath. And then as you exhale, come into your expression of pigeon. Maybe that looks like forearms to blocks. Maybe that looks like forearms to the ground. Maybe it looks like forehead to the ground. And this is one of those classic poses of surrender. Of allowing ourselves to breathe into the pose, to open up the hips, to see what we discover and find when we hold this shape and soften into it. Here, let's take 3 lion's breath. So lion's breath is when you stick your tongue out as far as you possibly can. You open your mouth really wide and you breathe out like a roar. So it's like, can you take 2 more of those? I think pigeon is always a nice place to do that because you don't have to worry about anybody seeing what your face looks like. You can open your mouth really wide and stretch through your jaw and stretch through your tongue, which is a place in the body where these kind of control energies get really held and stuck and lodged. And if that resonates with you, here you could take your mouth open really wide and move your lower jaw over to the right. And then over to the left. Maybe in a circle in one direction and in the other. And then from here, slowly walk your hands in. You'll place your hands and come back into downward facing dog. Move slow. You can either take a few breaths in down dog or come into 3-legged dog, taking your right leg up to the sky and opening up the hip. And when you're ready, switch sides, left leg lifts as you inhale, bring your left knee forward for pigeon as you exhale. The knee comes outside of the hip, you take your time, this side might be very different. Walk your back knee back, bring it in towards the midline a little more. Inhale, lift your heart, shoulders back. Exhale, decide where your fullest expression of pigeon on this side of the body is. Forearms to blocks, forearms to the ground, forehead to the ground. And melt the heart. Notice any patterns of resistance that come up while you're here in the pose. We'll be here for just a few more breaths. So see if for the next 30 seconds or so, you could let go just a little more. Inhale, slowly walk your hands in. Make your way into downward facing dog. You can stay right here in down dog, or you could take your left leg up, bend your knee coming into three-legged dog and open up the hip. Then when you're ready, release, come down to hands and knees and transition to sit. We'll take 2 blocks if you have them. And set up for a heart bench here. So first block comes at its middle height on the mat, lengthwise, and the second block comes to its highest setting for your head. If you know that this is too high for you, you can always drop the blocks down. And then you'll come to sit with a tall spine, lean back on your hands, knees bent, feet parallel. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, lower yourself down onto your blocks so that the block behind your back starts with your rib cage, travels up your spine and between your shoulder blades. And then the second block that's higher catches your head. So we have to play with this a little bit. You want to still be able to breathe and say a few words, have a conversation if you could. And then arms come down by your sides. Palms face up. You can keep your knees bent with your feet on the ground. You could take your feet wide and knock your knees. You could extend your legs long. You could take the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. As we start to wind down and move towards Shavasana, towards our final relaxation pose, our yoga practice asks us to do the same, to slow down, to wind down, to quiet our energy, to turn our awareness more inward, to relax and release and let go of the tension. To let go of the gripping of the mind. to allow the thoughts to pass by like clouds in the sky without attaching to them. The mind will never stop thinking. That's its job. We want it to think. But we simply learn how to work with our thoughts, how to work with our brain chemistry. So here, let yourself take a step back. Drop back and down into yourself. Witnessing this separation between your thinking mind and your true self, your true nature, that light within you. And allow yourself to just be. And inhale your knees back to center if they're not there already. And you'll slowly make your way onto your side, coming off of your blocks, moving very gently. Take a moment to pause here, curled up on your side. Inhale, make your way onto your back. Have your knees bent with your feet on the ground. Take your arms out to a T or to cactus. So in cactus, your elbows are in line with your shoulders and your wrists are over your elbows, backs of the hands on the ground. Press down into your feet, pick up your hips, move them an inch to the left, bring them back down. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, bring your knees over to the right. Take your gaze out over your left shoulder. Inhale your knees back up to center. Then shift your hips to the middle of your mat. Set up for the second side, so you pick up your hips, move them an inch to the right. Take a breath in. As you exhale, drop your knees to the left. Take your gaze out over your right shoulder. Inhale your knees back to center, move your hips back to the middle of your mat. Hug your knees into your chest. You can give yourself a little massage here on your low back, making circles in one direction and then the other. Then hug your knees into your chest. Take your knees wide. Bring the soles of your feet up towards the sky for happy baby. You can grab the pointy toe edges of your feet or your shins or ankles. Release and hug your knees back into your chest, giving yourself a little hug one final time. And then go ahead and set yourself up for Shavasana. Extend your legs long on the mat, and your feet gently open to the sides. Bring your arms down by your sides with your palms face up. Take a full breath in and let it go. 2 more like that. Give yourself permission to fully surrender here. Fully release and let go of anything that you no longer wish to carry. Anything that's no longer in alignment with your highest self, that pure light of being. Release it from your heart. And breath, all your awareness back to your body. Right movement back into your body as you wiggle your fingers, toes. Start to move and stretch in any way that feels best for your body. And in your own time, when you're ready, draw your knees to your chest. Roll to your right side and slowly make your way back up to an open seat. Once you arrive in the sitting position, bring your hands together from your heart. Call back your intention that you set at the beginning of class. Feel free to modify or change it in any way so that you can carry your intention with you off of your mat back out. Sharing your gifts and your light with others. Sealing our intentions and our class with final cleansing breath. Take a deep breath in. And let it go. Gently bow your head to your heart. The light within me recognizes and honors this very same light in each one of you. Namaste. Thank you all so much for your practice today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Really quick before I forget, next week is Shad Fest. So this class will only be held online. I'm going to teach the same time but from my house because I won't be able to get here. I forget what time they shut down the streets, but like it's, yeah, they shut it down at, I think, before this class starts. So it'll just be, you know, nutty over here. So I'm going to teach from my home, live streamed. If you want to join me, if not, then I will be back in the studio the next week. Hold on, I'm unmuting everybody. I unmute you guys. I don't know how to unmute everybody. Hold on. Maybe you guys have to unmute yourselves.
Yeah, we can unmute ourselves.
Yeah, so if anybody has any class feedback, I would love to hear it. If not, that's fine too. I think you guys are unmuted now.
I would say,
Hold
Erin,
on,
that
Susan. How about now? Oh, now I can hear you. Go ahead.
okay. I don't come regularly enough for it to be have an impact on your class, but I personally like yin a whole lot and have lost, there's no yin classes that I can find. It's just, this is a little late for me. So
Okay,
That's-
good, great, thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Oh, and Aaron, I sent you an email about it.
Yes, thank you, Debbie. Yes, and we have our own, you know.
Yeah, thanks going on. Yeah.
So thank you so much. Sandra, how about you?
Personally, I liked the flow today. To me, today's class is about perfect for me, which is I like the flow at the beginning and then the last part of class holding some of the poses for a longer period of time.
You know what, I was just thinking, like, as I was teaching, it was like, maybe I should do like gentle in the beginning and then yin at the end, because that's kind of what I did today.
Yeah, I really liked it.
So I don't know, I'm gonna think about it. But-
Okay.
But thank you. Would you want to do yin, or is that something you would be like, yeah, I probably won't do class if it's all yin?
I don't know. I'd have to think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. All right.
Good
Bye.
to see you. Bye.